Welcome back to the Midnight Gospel, where we fall asleep into dreaming of being there in our favorite Bible stories. Tonight, we begin with the story of the 10 men with leprosy, and the one who came back to say thank you from Luke, chapter 17. These aren't sermons. They're stories retold slowly to help your body rest and your soul come home back to God. This video was made to help you drift to sleep while drawing near to something holy. Even if you fall asleep before the end, the story will keep walking with you. You don't have to listen closely. Just let it settle into your breath. The day started so quietly, I almost missed it. Pale light slid through the cracks in the old shutters, cool and clean, touching the floor where I left my sandals last night, folded together out of habit. I sat up slowly. My body, my own, returned to me, felt strangely light. Not new, really, just not hurting. I listened to my breath steady, soft. It moved in and out like water slipping over stones, nice and regular, no more catching at the edge of pain. I let my palm press into the blanket. Fingers traced the weavings like counting stones. I didn't need to hurry. No one needed anything from me this early. For the first time in years, there was no ache, no worry about spots. Outside, sparrows chattered. The sound was small, the world still wrapped in itself, not quite open for business. I opened the shutters a handbreadth and watched pink light wash over the stones outside. My room, a square of clay, basket in the corner, pale cloth folded and waiting, felt like it had shape again. Not just waiting room, but my own little place. I used to dread mornings, used to dread the way the sun showed everything. This morning I wanted to see. I stood. My feet touched cool clay. The strength was easy, and for a moment I let myself just stand there taking inventory. 10 fingers, 10 toes, no more watching for missing pieces. Nothing to hide, no more sickness to keep secret. I breathed again, deeper, just to try it. A pitcher sat near the doorway, water from the well carried up last night. I poured a little into the basin, cupped it in my hands. The water on my face was cold and clean, waking me gently. I watched it run in little rivers through my fingers back to the bowl. I lingered over washing, rubbing my hands, noticing the lines in each palm, how they looked almost new beneath the film of water. Let this moment stretch. Quietly I picked up the cloth, mostly clean, a little rough in the corners, folded so many times before. I shook it out and refolded it, slower than needed, just to feel its weight gather and settle, corner to corner. There was a rhythm in this, soft work, safe and simple. My mind wandered not far, just to sunlight on the wall, to the window's shadow across the floor, to the slow rise of day. No bells, no calling out, just the world moving forward. Someone far away was feeding goats. I could hear the clink of a pail. Somewhere, bread was being kneaded, slow and calm. Every morning sound felt like an answer to a question I forgot to ask. Even this silence is holy. There was no need to say anything. I watched the sparrows again, chasing crumbs, fluttering from the low wall to the roof and back. Ordinary, happy chores. I used to watch life from the sidelines, waiting for permission to join. Today, every little thing felt like a quiet welcome back. I didn't worry about what would come next. Folding cloth, washing hands, these were prayers enough for now. The night listens with you. I remember the dust most of all. The way it hung in the slanting sun, soft as flour. Feet behind me, slow and careful, moving from the place where we were healed. I walked with the others for a little while, our steps unsure, still not quite believing. Then I slowed, letting their voices drift ahead. My hands remembered the shape of emptiness, the way hunger settled into the bones. But tonight I hold a little dough. I press it flat, working the grain gently between my palms, just like I watched my mother do in the quiet before dawn, before the world grew hard. The fire is small, just a few sticks. The flames snap softly. I lay the dough near the coals, the edges blistering with heat. My fingers rest on my knees. There is space around me and no one asks for anything. Still, I feel full. The scent of roasting bread is plain, but it reaches right through the ache that lingers, fills the hollow where worry lived for so long. Sometimes the bread was only a memory, a wish passed down by wordless yawn and empty hand. Tonight, it's warm and real. In the hush, even the crows are quiet. I chew slowly, counting the bites. Grain and salt and air, nothing special. But every crumb feels noticed by someone larger than hunger. Every swallow, silent thanks I forget how to say out loud. Let this moment stretch. The ashes under my feet are cold. I draw a few lines in them. Not letters, not prayers. Just marks so I can remember being here, on this side of sickness, with new bread and no reason to hurry. I breathe out. The hillside is empty except for me and the night sounds. The village could be miles away or right next door. Light from the fire flickers on the flatbread. I break off the corner, hold it, think about how often I ate stones and pretended they were loaves. But no more, not tonight. The taste isn't sweet or holy, it's just enough. Even this silence is holy. No one saw me kneel down. No one waited for me to return. I don't know what kind of thanks I'm supposed to give for being whole. But as the bread goes soft in my mouth, I close my eyes, letting gratitude slip in like another breath. It doesn't have to be spoken. It can hide inside bread between one heartbeat and the next. The night listens with you. I finish quietly. Brush the crumbs from my palm. Fold the cloth back over the rest of the bread. For once, there's enough to share, even if no one asks. The fire sinks lower. My hunger is just a memory. The healing feels smaller now, not a miracle, but something like bread, simple, quiet, filling. Tomorrow, maybe there will be more, or maybe not. Tonight, bread is enough. Gratitude can be plain as grain, slow and small and lasting until morning. The ground just past the city wall is loose and tired. One foot slips, then settles, and I stand still, just outside, where I stood so many times, waiting for nothing except nightfall or new bread or news that the world had forgotten to lock its door. It used to sting, standing this way, on the cold side of belonging. But tonight, my feet just find their place in the dust, and I almost forget what it meant to be separate. The other men have long gone ahead, laughter carried over the hill. I hear my own footsteps for the first time in years. Not running, not hidden, just a steady sound, soft as two stones in a pocket. Every step makes a low hush, and the dust lifts up around me, slow, gentle, gold in the tired sun. I think someone might call it nothing, a quiet walk, a little dust curling up off the road. But to me it's more. This dust was my border, my sign. It was the only thing that could be touched without fear. All those years, dust was company enough when the world could not be. Tonight it doesn't keep me back. I breathe its warmth, and each step forward seems welcomed by it. My toes press in, careful and slow. Bare skin, stone surface. no crowd calling out. It's strange how gentle footsteps can feel after so much running from shouts and turning away from faces. I pass the well, empty tonight. A cracked jug left at the rim, forgotten by someone braver or busier or simply tired. Water will wait until morning. The air is a little sweet here, like olive wood after rain. The path widens out before me. Not a single voice, not a wagon wheel, just the chorus of sandals brushing sand. My own sandals this time, not borrowed, not broken. This silence is holy. Nobody notices, but the absence of shouting is its own kind of music. I step over a smooth stone. The ground dips, then rises again. The rhythm settles in me. Left, right, pause. Breath in, breath out, dust settles, dust stirs. Nothing to be afraid of, not here, not tonight. A goat watches me pass, dark eyes reflecting the last of the sunlight. She returns to her slow grazing. Even the animals are too tired to worry. I'm surprised she doesn't startle, but perhaps she's seen enough men come and go to know peace when it's here. Let this quiet moment stretch. I notice my shadow stretched long behind me. For so long I watched it from a distance, or not at all. Now it walks close and I almost want to greet it. Hello again. Sorry for leaving you behind all those years. There's a fig tree ahead, its leaves wide and soft at the edges. I remember the taste of figs, a taste I almost forgot after so much waiting just beyond the gate. But tonight I just noticed the way the leaves move, nodding gently, marking time with the breeze. I pause under its branches, not out of need, just comfort. The journey is quiet and the silence is a pillow. The night listens with you. I kneel, not as a show, but to loosen grit from my sandal strap. My hands are steady, old scars under new skin. Someone once called this smoothness a miracle. To me, it's simply what it feels like to belong. Not outside, not less, just here. I dust my hands, then rest them on my knees. I think of the place I came from, the shadows beyond the town's reach, the stones I sat on to count the hours. The way night crept up without any need to explain itself. Now the gate stands behind me. Nobody watches. Nobody but God. And the road in front of me, simple, brown, stretching toward the hill, marked only by the prints I leave behind. I don't rush. Each step is its own kind of prayer, not asking, just accepting. Each footprint, a soft answer. Even this silence is holy. There's a small bush to my left, silver in the moonrise. The scent reminds me of my mother's house, laundry indoors, bread waiting by the fire. She used to sweep the dust from her doorstep each night, humming with a steady, forgotten tune. Dust then was a chore. Dust now is presence, waiting with me as I return. I walk on, listening to that gentle rhythm. Sometimes the world gives you nothing but footsteps. Sometimes that's the most sacred gift. Let your breath settle. I draw closer now to where I turned back, the place where gratitude pulled me, closer than the voices of celebration, more certain than any command. I was not expected. I am not needed. And still this path welcomes my return. With every step I lose a bit of the old ache. What remains is ease. What remains is the temple of quiet, built not of stones but of breath and slow, certain walking. There is no rush, no lesson but the hush of dust rising then falling behind me. I will keep walking slowly until my soul knows the sound of welcome, until footsteps themselves become a song, quiet, sacred, almost missed. I am not outside. Not anymore. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Sleep now, walk slow. Let even these small silences hold you as softly as the dust holds every step. There is a quiet at the well in the early morning, before anyone begins to talk, a hush under the pale blue sky, where the stones keep their shadow and the earth feels cool. The jars lean in clusters, old clay patched here and there, mouths dusty from yesterday. The rope is coiled like a sleeping thing. I carry my jar, my palm finding the same spot on the handle as every day before, as if my fingers fit by memory, by habit, more than hope. No one says much at this hour. Only soft footsteps, a cough, the bare shuffle of sandals. Everyone waits their turn, eyes low and still, and I breathe out quiet, just another name in the line like I always was, only now, a little lighter in the bones, as though the months of pain have been washed off by the wind. The well is deep, so deep that when you drop the jar, you wait for the sound. The darkness there always surprises me, as if the world's heart is so far below. Water sleeps in its own quiet room, untouched for a little while longer. I lower the jar, the rope creaking as it slips between my fingers. Slow, then slower, no need to hurry. Sometimes my hand shakes from old habit, from the memory of pain, but mostly it's peace that holds me now. A peace that came from being seen, being healed when I did not ask. I watch the circle of sky above, how the bright edge moves as the sun climbs higher, and the well mouth shines with a thin gold line. Around me everyone works. Some mutter half prayers beneath their breath. Some hum. Most just stand, staring past everything, letting the morning unfold, letting water become the only thing that matters. There is a rhythm. Lower, dip, feel the tug as the jar tips and fills, then the weight coming back. The rope strains, the muscles in my arm pulling up, slow and steady. Every day this for as long as I can remember. But it's different when I notice the quiet, even the smallest things. How the jar's cool lip scrapes against the stone, how drops spill and run in silver lines down to my feet. I wonder if carrying water will ever feel like just a chore again, or if after this, after touching mercy, I will always feel a little hush around the smallest work. I don't know. I only know that today the water is heavy in my arms but gentle, and the sky overhead looks the same as the day before, yet kinder somehow. I pause, setting my jar beside the well, brushing back a curl of hair that the wind finds every morning. I watch my breath, slow and even, no rush, no need for words. Behind me, a mother soothes her tired son. A boy waits with rope tangled at his feet, tracing lines in the dust with his toe. Old men sit on the low stones, watching the street, nodding off and waking, their hands folded like small boats. I wipe the dust from my jar and think, this is a prayer, this quiet, this lifting, this waiting for water to rise from the darkness. I say nothing aloud. Nobody notices. Still, I feel it somewhere between my ribs in the slow spin of my heart. Each drop of water drawn is a yes, a thank you that does not need a name. By midday, the crowd is larger. Voices rise a little and the well's edge is warm from sun. My jar is 3/4 full. I rest, letting my hand dangle, feeling the pulse in my wrist, steady as a promise. Someone asks if I'm done with the rope. I smile, just a small thing. They take it without waiting. There is peace in not being needed and still being here. In watching the water catch the light, in feeling the old ache in my wrist but not minding. In standing at the edge of something deep, knowing that the world will not notice my prayer, but maybe it is heard anyway. I tie a strip of cloth around the jar's neck so it will swing easier as I walk. My path home crosses dusty shade and hard sun. Each step is slow. The jar knocks gently against my knee. Some water sloshes out and stains my robe, but I do not rush to fix it. Water spills. The world keeps turning. Grace is not wasted. On the path I pass a gnarled fig tree. Its leaves are still catching bits of breeze. I pause, standing in the shade. I press my forehead to the rough bark, breathing deeply. Everything feels simple here, just breath, coolness, the weight of the jar in my arms. I think of the day before, the astonishment of being made whole, the sunlight too bright to look at, the others running ahead, shouting, all joy and disbelief. I think of coming back, of falling to my knees before the man who healed me. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard, my thanks, only a murmur but received. Now, standing by the tree, I close my eyes. The world goes quiet. My palms cool on the clay. I thank God again for air to breathe, for the steady thump of my heart, for water in the dark waiting to be lifted. Later, I walk home slow, through alleys lit with dust. My jar feels lighter than when I left the well. At my door, I set it down, wiping the rim with my sleeve. The day has stretched long. My shadow bends across the threshold, thin and harmless. I watch the water settle in the jar, watch the last few ripples grow still. He asked for nothing, and still I felt full. Let this moment stretch. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. I stand in the doorway as the first light slips across the clay floor. Breezes from the alley carry the scent of yesterday's bread and the wetness of the drying well. Before anyone else stirs, I settle in the quiet, where I have work that asks nothing and answers nothing, but soothes all the same. My hands find the basket of linens, the ones worn soft from many washings. I gather a tunic, fold it, and smooth the creases so they lie flat and true. The fabric is not new, but it is clean. The cloth holds its share of story. Silent meals, afternoon naps, heads bowed in prayer. Each line pressed is a memory felt but not spoken. Fold and refold. Let the rhythm settle the day inside my bones. The way I touch this cloth, careful and slow, it's how I learn my skin again. My fingers remember the roughness that is gone. They explore the healed newness, uncertain if this piece belongs to me, but in the quiet belief grows with each simple fold. Nothing hurries here. The world turns at the pace of breath. Fold smooth, align the corners, let the edges rest together. Outside, the world fills with voices, signs of busy life, but inside, the silence drapes over everything. The piece is not grand. It's gentle and unnoticed. No one marks the steady work of bringing cloth to order, of making one shirt clean and ready for another day. It's the same peace that came when I was made whole, quiet, almost invisible, yet everything changed. My healed skin is a private miracle I carry into these ordinary moments. When I ease the wrinkles out of a towel, when I stack each finished piece by the window to catch the gold dust of morning, it's as if something invisible is being restored. Every careful motion is a prayer without words, a small thank you spoken only in silence. Let this moment stretch. Nothing is required. The room breathes with me, slow and deep. I pause between each fold, watching the way my shadow moves on the whitewashed wall. The sun crawls higher, making the linen gleam soft and real. The same hands that once trembled now work in peace, fold and be restored. The rhythm holds me in place, safe from old fears. The ordinary fabric runs beneath my palms like water. This is the hush after healing, the kind of quiet where no one applauds and nothing is expected. I could stay here forever, just folding, unfolding, breathing. Let the boredom be sacred. Let the stillness do the work. Even as the day gathers around me, my heart remembers. Mercy came and left no scar. I was remade quietly in the corner of a silent room. Now every linen I fold is as whole as I am. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. It would have been so easy to keep walking. The road faded out behind me, dust settling where my feet had stirred. But I did not want to go anywhere, not yet, not after what had happened. So I wandered off the path just a little, where the olive trees grew thick and gentle. Their branches hung low, heavy with silvery green leaves, some cradling the roundness of fruit, some shaking loose small petals with every lazy wind. I learned to wait from these trees, to stand still, to watch the shadows dance and rest back and forth over the ground, sway, rustle, sway. No one hurried here. My hands moved over the bark, tracing its old stories, knuckles brushing against cool patches where the sun hadn't reached. Oil lingered on my fingertips, slick and sweet. I pressed them together as if to weave the scent into memory. The air was quiet. A dove shuffled along the branch above, and I listened to the hush, broken only by the slow rustle and gentle sway, and the far-off stir of sandals carrying other men further away, their voices swallowed by warmth. I leaned into the hush. Nothing to do, nothing I needed to prove. I let the shade cover my face, soft and dappled. My body remembered the fever, the ache, the way emptiness used to live under my skin. Now there was space instead. Wide, slow space, full breaths. I watched ants toil along a root. I counted them the way a child does, certain one might speak if I waited long enough. My own voice felt fragile, so I kept it tucked away. I listened, really listened, to everything I could not control. The wind above me, the leaves brushing one another, the quiet creak of wood grown tired from holding up the sky. Rustle, sway, rest, repeat. Sometimes I closed my eyes and tried to see in the dark. The inside of my own eyelids pink and alive, the world paused. I heard my heart beat, patient. Nobody was waiting for me. Nothing was expected except slow breathing. I noticed how relief moves quietly, like a cup set carefully on a stone, like hands folding cloth at dusk. Let this moment stretch, I told myself. The branches above, unhurried, kept their own slow count of time. Light tangled between leaves. A patch of dry ground warmed my tired legs. The shade stayed cool. My body loosened inside these trees as if I belonged here, as if the hush was my own. The others were gone by now. They wanted to return to what they knew. I understood it. Still, I couldn't go on so quickly, not when everything felt so new, so silent. My heart did not beat like a drum anymore. It just hummed, like the olive branches swaying over me back and forth. Rustle, sway, I remembered the pain, the years of faces turning away. I remembered avoiding my own reflection in pools and dark windows. The loneliness had been sharp. Out here, beneath leaves oily and green, I could feel that sharpness turning soft, like old bread, torn and dipped in oil, losing its hardness in gentleness. Nothing was required, not even gratitude. But even so, thanks rose up anyway, simple and quiet. I didn't speak it. I let it breathe out of me, as natural as the air under the trees. Let everything slow down. Let the peace be boring as olive trees are boring, faithful, unremarkable, holding up the same fruit every year. Rustle, sway, rest. Sometimes I wondered if I would fall asleep leaning here. I wouldn't mind. Letting the scent of leaf and oil settle into the back of my mind where dreams hardly move. The world felt safe just for now. A bird called softly, then quieted itself, as if not to disturb the hush that lived here. I ran my thumb along my wrist. The skin was whole, the line of veins pale and slender. It hardly seemed possible, but I didn't argue with mercy. I just let it be. Nobody noticed the prayer, but it was heard. I remembered his eyes, kind and searching. I remembered the simple act of falling, knees in the dust, hands pressed together. I did not ask for a lesson. I just needed to say thank you. And though my voice was small, I think it mattered. I think it was enough. The day grew cooler. Shadows slipped further over the path. I could have left. I could have hurried off like the others. But I stayed a bit longer, letting the hush settle, letting each breath be wrapped in the scent of olives and distant sun. Rustle, sway, the world turning soft and slow beneath creation. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. The road is quiet after the crowd leaves it. The sun leans low, the color of warm honey dripping along the hills. The day is old. Nothing presses forward. I just notice the ground and my feet. The sound of sandals settling softly against the stone for so long, all sound from me was muffled. I learned to walk without echo. I let silence bury my steps. Even now I don't hurry. My feet touch the earth and the earth does not flinch. The stones feel soft, even though I know they are not. My sandals make a steady, almost sleepy slap with each pace, like a slow drum tapping an evening song no one needs to remember. I don't try to be quiet anymore. Other men, just shapes drawn long by the late sun, are walking ahead and behind. Their shoes sing against the rocks, too, each rhythm different, none of them hidden. For a moment I close my eyes. I just listen. Somewhere ahead the village breathes the same old way. Dogs bark with boredom. A child drops a clay cup sharp and bright against the hush. But mostly it's the soft slap of walking, sandal after sandal. Even the dust seems to listen for it. For a while that's enough. I remember before I tried to walk like no one lived inside me. I wanted to be only a shadow gliding by. If I made too much sound, someone might remember I was there. The old rule said not to let hope leak out onto the street. Now, there is no rule but presence. Step by step, proof that I'm still here. That's what the sandals tell the street. The dust swirls up, tiny at my ankle. The stone holds the echo for a second more. My hands hang at my side, empty, not clenched, not tired from begging or hiding. I do not press my knuckles into my palms. My arms sway a little with the movement of walking. Ordinary, steady, open. It isn't bravery to walk home. It isn't boldness to hear myself moving. It's just the only thing left. No one looks twice. Another man in the road, marked only by the hush between steps. As I go, my quiet footsteps fall into the laps of the houses. Shutters open just enough to let in breeze but not stories. Bread cools on old boards. The street smells like fig leaves crushed under heel and the faintest trace of smoke curling from the fire pit near the well. I think about how sandals are made. Someone's hand stitched the leather strong but gentle, the thong rubbed smooth against fingers, then wrapped and tied, fit for travel, the sole held firm by patience. They were built for going out, but also for coming home. I wonder if the others, the nine, their voices fading, notice their own sound. Maybe they keep listening over their shoulders for some kind of applause or proof that the road knows them now. Maybe they are already lost down the curve, where the stone turns to dirt and feet lose their echo. I only know about this. My own pace, my own song. The miracle is quiet if it happened at all. The body obeys and the feet do what feet do. Nothing more. That is enough. I do not need angels to set the rhythm, only sandals and dust and evening air. The sun slips further and shadows stretch across the street. I follow the rhythm, quiet and small. Each step a gentle reminder. I am not lost. I am not hidden. Someone heard the silence breaking under my heel and noticed presence instead of emptiness. A few passers-by carry jars of water, careful not to spill. Their shoes say nothing new on the stones, but there's comfort in the sameness of it all. I let my eyes touch the shapes of things, goat resting in the shade, fig pressing against the clay wall, one small flower nodding as if weighed by secret news. I could stop here forever, just listening, feet pressing on cool earth, sandals whispering the simplest song, but the road breaks under the hush of gratitude. It is not loud. It does not demand. It just keeps me. So I walk. Every step is a soft announcement. I am here. I am found. I am not erased. The hush after healing is neither fear nor nothingness, but the ordinary, steady, proof of life sound of moving on. Let this moment stretch out. Let the silence widen, hold, and stay gentle around your breath. Every sound, even the boring ones, belong to you again. Tonight the street keeps its secrets. Nothing has truly changed except the sound of one more pair of sandals meeting the dust and not turning away. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. My hands were clean again. That small secret still traveled with me through every new morning. I looked down at the lines of my palms, turning them over, sunlight shifting across knuckles and wrists. The world felt gentler after healing. Bread returned to my mouth soft and warm again, not just food but comfort. At dusk, someone sat with me beneath a low branch. We didn't call each other friend yet, but we both carried the steady quiet that comes with being seen, if only once, by somebody holy. He pulled an orange from his robe, its skin tired and dimpled. He paused, thumb digging soft into the peel, careful not to let any juice slip into the dust. No one hurried. The village gone calm in the hour after the sun folds itself away behind stone. It was enough only to sit together, knee against knee. The orange gave itself up slow, coming apart in segments. He handed me half, didn't ask, didn't look to see if I wanted more. The sweetness shivered delicate and bright along my tongue. The bitter pith clung still in places, but it didn't matter. That flash of sweet, unexpected after all those bitter years, it filled my mouth with peace. He asked for nothing, and still felt full. I remembered that old hunger, how a thin loaf once passed between us, broken edge to broken edge, always a little less than enough. But tonight the citrus stayed sharp and real, and for a moment I wanted nothing else in the world. We said little, one word handed gently, then silence. Even the goats quieted for once. He took a fig from his pocket, pressed it open with his thumb. Seed stuck to the flesh, sticky and dark. We split it slow, sap on my fingers, the fruit cool. It tasted patient, like days left on a branch too long, then picked when already soft. Sweetness deepened by waiting. I chewed slow, let the flavor fill my throat, my stomach curling warm. Sometimes gratitude is silent, like food simply given, not explained. I found myself thinking about the one who noticed me, the man I returned for, the way his eyes held, kind but not searching, letting me pour out thanks with no rush, no demand for more. The quiet of the meal lingered, carrying with it the hush of mercy. In the pause between bites, I felt the fullness grow. No lessons left to be learned. Just life moving from hand to hand, a fruit opened, split, tasted slow, peace settling beneath the skin. Let this moment stretch, the sweetness after bitterness, the calm after healing. Even this silence is holy. The night listens with you. There is a way the world softens at the end of the day when you find yourself walking out to the place where people gather. Not the center, just close enough. He stands at the edge of the crowd, feeling the dust settle under his sandals, folding his hands and watching the hush ripple across the backs of others. Some faces are open, tilting upward. Some eyes are closed, like a prayer whispered by habit, not need. The words are far away here, nearly lost, riding the air in pieces. He catches only a line now and then. The voice is gentle but doesn't reach him whole. It's quieter at the edge. He doesn't mind. Someone shifts, a mother rocks her child. The world feels steady, a low warmth rolling off, people pressed together, their breathing slow and sure. He looks down. There's a small stone at his feet. He nudges it back and forth, feeling the shape of patience. There's always something to do with your hands while you listen from a distance. A goat tugs at a rope in the grass nearby. Someone drops a loaf of bread. Nobody notices, but he sees. Wind shifts, carrying hints of a voice, words about mercy, perhaps, or just about walking or hunger. He lets it be vague. There's comfort in not knowing everything. He lets the whole world be a little unclear, a little soft at the edges. There is relief in it, a freedom from understanding, from needing to be close to the center. Here, on the margin, the presence is enough. Sometimes he closes his eyes, not from tiredness, but to listen for the quiet between the words. That is where rest lives. That is where he lets his breath fall into rhythm with the others. The hillside cools under a low sun. Someone coughs, then quiets. People shift, but nobody rushes. The story drifts over them, a silk blanket barely touching the skin. A child asks for water. He hears the clink of a cup. He listens for any word that reaches him, though most do not. Still he feels full. No one knows he stands here. No one calls his name. But he feels wrapped in the same hush, held by the same dusk as everyone else. There is no need to do anything, no hunger to be at the middle. He asks for nothing and still feels full. Let this moment stretch. Let your thoughts ramble like the breeze across the grass. Even this silence is holy. He glances up just once and sees a shape moving between the people, closer to the miracle perhaps, but he's content with the echo. The whisper at the edge is enough. So he stands, breathing slow, letting the night fold itself around him. The crowd begins to quiet and trickle away, soft as dusk. He stays a little longer, feeling the last warmth where the words once were. You don't have to hear it all to belong here. Let the hush gather. let sleep come. Even at the edge you are remembered. Morning is barely awake. I sit at a small table, clay bowl before me. My hands know this bowl. How its cool sides curve, round and comfortable, just wide enough for my fingers to rest. The lamp's flame is low flickering. It smells slightly of last night's tallow. I breathe in and out. There is nothing that must happen quickly. I pour oil from a small jar. It glides out slowly, pale gold, heavy with the day's promise. It settles into the bowl with a quiet sound, barely a sound at all. I watch the surface shift and settle. The oil holds the morning's first light. It is slow light, stretching time. I take the wooden stirrer and place it in the middle. The oil circles around the stick, at first stubborn, then fluid. My hand draws a careful spiral. Sometimes I count the turns for no reason, 1, 2, 3, but I always forget and start again. It does not matter. Each circle feels softer than the one before. The bowl sounds a faint hush as the stirrer moves. The oil shimmers quietly, still catching the light. Not gold now, more like a lull, soft as sleep. I think about days before, when my skin was rough, when I kept to the edges. Leprosy kept me lonely outside, unnoticed. But here now at a table with clay and oil, I am so plainly here. Let this moment stretch. I look at my hands, clean. My thumb traces the handle of the stirrer. There is no tremble, no ache, just a secret relief. Small things feel important. From the window, dust moves where the morning wind pushes through. Shadows shift across the bowl, mingling with oil and light. Even shadows are quiet here. What will this oil become? There are no sick to bring it to, no great wound to mend. It will brush bread or soften cracked heels or lamp a small room, work with no audience. I do it because it is in front of me. Sometimes the work fills my whole morning. I watch the oil, patient as waiting, never in a hurry to settle. Time moves differently, slow as poured honey. The house is silent except for this steady, gentle stirring. I let it be enough. I do not think about yesterday's miracle or how all the others walked away. Only this, the bowl, a hand, a wooden stick, the gift of stillness. Even this silence is holy. A strand of hair falls over my brow. I brush it back with fingers made gentle by use. Someone passes outside. Their sandals pat the ground. They do not look in, but it doesn't matter. Not every story is watched. Not every grace is seen by others. I keep stirring. The oil thickens if left alone. It asks to be moved, touched, reminded that it is here to serve. There is no speech, no prayer aloud, but the oil is my prayer. A bird calls quietly from the eaves. Sound travels softly through the day. My breathing joins it, slow, steady. It feels like an answer, even if no question is spoken. I pause, watching the way oil gathers around light. It glows not brightly, but as if light has all the time in the world. Let the day drift. My feet on the stone floor feel grounded. There are no grand ideas running through my head. The simple act of making ready for bread, for lamps, for what will quietly sustain, this is enough for now. Sometimes when the wind blows colder, I remember darker mornings. Unseen, half hiding, but not today. The oil, the clay bowl, they hold me steady. The lamp smokes for a moment and then clears. I wipe a small drip from the table. My mother used to say you could always tell the work of clean hands by the mark they left behind. I smile to myself not for memory's sake but for how plain everything feels. Let time be slow. I pour a little of the stirred oil into a smaller dish. It slips out, gleaming, slow light folding into itself. The rim of the bowl catches the shine, nothing wasted. I set the smaller dish aside for later. Bread will need oil. Light will need oil. Who knows what else? Sun creeps into the room, just a thin line on the wall. I lean back. My work is simple. The world is large and unwatched. But this is what I was handed. Let this stillness shape your breath today. I do not need to be noticed. I do not need to explain. My hands in the oil bowl under the light, the hush in this room all say enough. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The oil shines, slow light, stretching time, and my spirit stretches quietly with it. The night listens with you. I set aside my sandals, loose with dust, and listen to the hush coming through the cracked window. My legs ache the good kind. A day full of slow steps, nothing pulling me anywhere. The lamp lets out a small sigh. I fold a cloth for my pillow, lay one blanket over the mat, and smooth out the wrinkles. The road still runs in my mind, gray stone edges, patient weeds, the same little birds that scattered as I walked. The way back to Jesus felt quiet and somehow endless. No one urged me forward. I matched my breathing to my feet, one soft step after another. The world around was so plain, it almost disappeared. Now the cool air makes me shiver and settle deeper. Somewhere outside, a woman calls to her goat. A man breaks bread. I hear the hush. Healing still feels new. Not exciting, just calm, like slipping into bath water or waking late on a day that asks nothing large of you. Arms and skin whole again, but sudden joy has faded to something steadier. My fingertips brush the folds of clean linen. It smells like sun and quiet work. I stack them here by the wall as I do every night. There is no hurry, only sleepiness and the slow, holy hush that lives on the edge of things. I whisper a prayer, just a breath, not even words. Thank you for seeing me. Stillness holds me. The Lord knows my breath. I am not forgotten. God walks slowly too. Mercy lingers here. Every night is remembered. Grace is in the road and the rest. Amen, amen, amen. Midday always came slow in this place. Not loud or bright, just heavy. The kind of heat that feels sticky at the hem of your shirt and softens every thought. He found a stone wall, rough and cool under his palm. The shade here was thick, and the light melted into lazy shapes across the ground. No one hurried anymore. Not chickens, not flies, not him. He let his back ease against the stone and felt his shoulders drop. Heat pressed around him like a hand, but the shadow cooled his cheeks. There were voices somewhere far off, but they drifted in and out as if they weren't meant for him. He didn't mind. This part of the day belonged to no one. It just was. He watched a moth flap and settle along the wall. Its wings twitched in the sleepiness of noon. The man blinked and wondered if any real thoughts would come at all, but the heat asked nothing. It allowed even emptiness to be sacred. The dust didn't rise now. It clung close, too tired to float up into sunlight. His sandals made marks in the powder, straight lines lost in slow shadows. For a while he followed nothing but the path of light across his own feet, noticing how the sun made everything narrower and sharper, yet still so quiet. Somewhere a cartwheel creaked. Someone shifted a basket. These sounds were pillow-soft, rounded and slow, the noise of people who had mostly given up on finishing things until evening. He could hear drops of sweat slide down his neck. Nothing rushed them. He remembered how he used to hide at this time. From the sun, from other people, from himself, maybe. But now the midday was different. He was whole and, somehow, hidden inside this quiet too. His finger traced a crack in the stone. He thought about asking for water, but he was not so thirsty that he minded waiting. He let the thought rise and fall like a wave that didn't reach shore. The air shimmered a little, pulled upward from the stones, thickening the view as if the world behind it was a secret folding in on itself for a nap. Even the olive trees looked as if they did not want to lift their arms. A few feet away, an old woman leaned under the same bit of shade, her basket set down, the figs forgotten for now. She didn't speak. He didn't try. Quiet made a gentle way between them, like a stream you could walk across on smooth stones. Their shadows touched, nothing else moved. He noticed a bird, high and out of sight, calling just once before falling silent again. He tried to follow the sound with his breath. In, then out, in, then out. His skin was warm but not burning. The sun felt different than the fever he'd known before. This heat was allowed. It was full of permission to stop, to simply stand here, whole, for as long as the shadows stayed. The world seemed held together by ordinary waiting. The bread dough was still rising at home. The goats had nothing to do but chew and sigh through the hours. He thought of feet resting in shallow basins, of water slowly growing cloudy with dust. Even the bees only half-heartedly circled the blossoms. They too waited for the sun to turn a little kinder. He drew his knees just a bit and listened for his own heartbeat. The noise of the morning, the shouts, the laughing, the hurry, had folded into this pause. He was no closer to sleep than waking, but beneath the heat and the hush, his mind untangled itself one slow thread at a time. It was here, in the stillest part of the day, that being alive felt most real and least important. He wasn't remembered or pointed at here, just breathing steady, just waiting on whatever would come next, or maybe nothing at all. A sigh left his mouth, slow and unplanned, and floated off before he could think about it. He watched it go, as if he could see it, disappearing into the shimmer of noon. Nobody asked for his story. Nobody looked close enough to notice the newness of his skin, the way he stood straighter now, or the quiet thanks growing slowly inside him. That was fine. Stillness welcomed him like a blanket, real, heavy, and warm at the fold. After a while, a breeze wandered by. It carried the smell of baking bread and a promise that somewhere, someone was still working, even in this pause. He let the scent fill his nose, then left it alone. He didn't reach for anything else. He asked for nothing and still felt full. He might stay like this until shadows grew long enough to pull him home again. Maybe someone would call his name, maybe not. Maybe nothing would change when he left this spot. The heat would go on and the day would drift gently toward its own quiet evening. That was enough. For this minute, leaning into the stone, letting the shadows cool his breath, he had all he'd ever wanted. Something holy had happened quietly, and the pause of noon was its echo, unstirred, unsung, just there. He watched the moth again. If it ever left, he did not see. The noon pressed onward, and the man closed his eyes, letting the hush settle into his bones. Even this silence is holy, the day, the stone, the shadow, the waiting. It was all a kind of prayer, nothing to hurry, no one to thank but God alone. I remember turning, not because anyone asked me to, but because my feet wanted to pause, not run. The others were already far away. Their laughter faded, soft and quick, caught by the road and carried off by the wind. I just stood for a moment and let the air settle around me. It wasn't a choice I made out loud. My hands trembled a little, not from fear or hurry, but just because they could again. I closed one in a quiet fist, opened it, nothing hurt. The world stayed very still. Even the sun seemed unsure, hanging low and steady between gray clouds. The path back to him wasn't swept or special. It looked just like any other path, stones, some weeds, a broken clay jar tucked against an old sycamore. I let my sandals drag a little, listening to the hush each step made. A small cloud of dust lifted, then it settled. My breathing matched the easy rhythm of my feet, in and out, slow like drawing water from the well at dusk. I could have hurried, but I didn't. There was no rush. Returning felt less like going somewhere and more like finding the shape of myself again. My face warmed. The breeze nudged at my sleeve. I thought about all the nights I'd spent listening to the world from far away, and how quiet everything seemed now, within reach. Jesus stood where he always had, not waiting, just there. He didn't gesture or call my name. No one watched. There were no witnesses, no hush of a crowd, just the gentle nod of his head in the evening light and me coming near. The space between us felt holy in a way I never learned to name. I settled to my knees with careful slowness, fingers pressed to the earth. At that moment, I felt smaller and safer than I ever had in all my years. My thank you was smaller than a whisper. He asked for nothing, and still I felt full. Even my shadow seemed lighter, stretched across the settled dust. I thought maybe God listens best to words that barely leave your heart. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. The ground was cool. The sky edged dimmer, blue folding gently into gray. I stayed just for another breath. Somewhere the others were still running. I couldn't see them, but I wished them joy. I wished them rest. But here the quiet was enough. The night listened with me. Let this moment stretch, even this silence is holy. Nothing else was needed. I breathed out, slow and soft. It was not a grand return, but it was mine. And in the soft exchange, I knew I would be remembered. Sometimes the quietest thing you remember is a single movement. That evening stays in my hands in the way knees bend, hands steadying against cool dirt. I was just standing at the edge before. Then I wasn't. My knees dropped slow as dusk. Nobody hurried, not Jesus, not the breeze, not the hush that wrapped the road outside the village. The 9 had gone. I heard their voices fading further off. But I was caught in the simple act of returning, wanting to be close enough to show something deep and speechless. Lowering myself, I could feel how each joint trusted the ground. It wasn't dramatic. Nothing sudden or sharp, just bone and muscle and breath, asking if it was safe here for a moment. I think about that pause, the way the world didn't need my words. My body spoke its own gratitude. There were little stones under my feet, loose dust, the fine kind you brush off your cloak at the end of the night. I let myself linger there, feeling all the old worries slip out. I wondered if anyone else ever noticed the shape your body makes when you're safe and full and still. Let this moment stretch. I didn't mean to pray. I just found myself close enough to the ground to listen, to not say anything. Kneeling is slower than you think. Your body remembers fear, remembers hunger, remembers not knowing if you'll ever be clean again. But in that hush, even my bones fell quiet. I watched a moth climb the stalk of a weed. My head bowed, but my eyes stayed open. There was a coolness in the dirt, a whisper of sandals against stone. Maybe it was Jesus shifting his weight. Maybe not. No words passed. None were needed. Even this silence is holy. I breathed in things I could not ask for. Enough moonlight to keep me warm, enough peace to carry me home. I let my hands rest in the dust. If there was a miracle, it was in how slowly a person can kneel, unhurried, unashamed, making no demands. He asked for nothing and still felt full. A small thank you pressed into the ground, not spoken, not lifted up for others to see, just given over to the stillness as if God could gather it up from the earth itself. No one noticed the prayer, but it was heard. The night listens with you. Your faith has made you well, he said before. The words hang in the air, even now. I feel them each time my knees touch the dust, whenever I remember what it means to be held, quiet, unremarkable, and grateful. Tonight, if you close your eyes and let your knees lower, maybe you'll see the hush in that moment, too. Nothing rushing, no one watching, just you, the earth, and the steady mercy that stands close enough to notice your thank you even when it's silent. I remember how my feet moved slower after. No rush. My heartbeat steadied. Dirt clung to my sandals, but it didn't matter. Every step away from the group felt like air drifting over cool water, a hush in me and around me. The sun had slipped a little lower, lazy in the sky. Dust hung in long rays. People's voices from the road became shapes, then faded until I could only hear my own breath. Not deep, not shallow, just quiet, like the land had exhaled at once. There wasn't anything left to prove. My hands weren't shaking. I touched my face, smooth, whole, ordinary. There would be time for joy, but right now, only silence. All that moving and crying and calling out done, like a cart finally parked at home. I looked back once. The 9 were gone, already on the path, just footsteps in the dirt. I thought maybe they said thank you in their hearts. Maybe not. It didn't feel like my story anymore. Mine was smaller, softer. The spaces between noises grew. I listened for the flap of a linen robe, a shift of dusty sandals, but it felt like the world had covered its mouth just to see what would happen. Wind slipped over the stones. Olive branches stirred, shadows trembling across the path. Nothing surprising, just what always happened at that hour, but it felt sharper somehow. As if the leaves and stones had noticed too. He didn't say much. His eyes found mine, calm and without hurry. Not a smile, not a frown, just present. I realized then I was being seen. Not for what I used to be, not for what I had lost, or even what I hoped might come next. Just seen. I knelt because there was nothing left to do. Kneeling felt natural, the way sitting down did when you'd walked a long way. Gravel pressed into my knees, gentle and blunt. I found I liked the feel of it. Sometimes the earth gives you a place to rest. Thank you. It slipped out, not loud. Not a shout, not begging. My own voice surprised me. It was smaller but certain. I didn't expect him to answer, and he didn't, not with words. But the silence held me like 2 hands cupping water. I didn't rush to fill it. The world after thanks was empty somehow, but in a good way. Like a bowl washed clean or a garden after rain. I felt lighter, nothing weighing on my chest, the noise in my mind gone. I forgot the ache in my joints. I forgot the hunger, the old fear. I closed my eyes because everything I wanted to see was already here. Around me, the air seemed to draw close and then wait. I couldn't tell if a bird had stopped singing or if I just stopped listening for it. The nothingness was full, like the moment before bread is torn, warm and simple. I waited not because I needed anything more, but because leaving felt impossible for a breath. The hush grew wider. Maybe that's what mercy sounds like, just empty space, gently holding you. The others gone on to their lives. People in the distance probably wondered why I lingered. It didn't matter. The moment didn't ask me to explain. A child ran by, but she didn't look. Sand kicked up, drifted down again. Life kept going, steady and unimportant. My own peace flowed out, quiet and unnoticed, like a slow stream after rain. The sky moved farther away, clouds in no hurry. Carts rolled by. Someone sliced bread beside their tent. I imagined the crack, the smell, but I stayed kneeling. The ground under me was cool. I traced the outline of a pebble, pressing it gently. Even that felt sacred. Every unremarkable thing was enough all at once. I thought of the days before, waking in pain, always longing. How did I get here? No answer appeared. But everything inside me stopped rushing around for just a moment. Hands on my knees tracing the healed skin. Air in, air out. The hush after gratitude floated between every bone. Still, he did not speak. It wasn't that kind of moment. I kept my eyes closed. Maybe the breath that moved over my face was his answer. Maybe he was gone, or maybe just sitting quietly, not needing to be seen. I was full either way. A fly buzzed. Then nothing. I listened for footsteps, but all I found was stillness. The peace did not hurry, did not fade. It only spread, softer and wider than before. In that quiet, I felt remembered. Like someone had written my name softly in the dust, nothing dramatic, nothing for show. The kind of remembrance that doesn't need to last on its own because it's already been seen. Thank you. Just that and nothing more. I could have said it again, but the silence did the rest. The world after gratitude was quieter, as though all of creation paused, listening too. Later, I would stand and walk away. My legs would carry me home. I would pass under trees and by sleeping sheep. But for now, kneeling felt like the outside matched the inside, still, simple, forgotten in a good way. Maybe when I sleep tonight, I will dream of this hush, the slow, sacred boredom of peace after mercy. The air holds me. The quiet stretches on. Even if no one else saw, I am sure someone listened. The day eased toward its end, the way the sky softens behind the rooftops, gray and blue, quiet and wide. Someone called my name. Their voice was calm, like it had always belonged here, like it no longer startled me to be known. I followed them, slow steps, no hurry, and entered a room carrying the smell of bread and onion, the comfortable clatter of cups set on stone. Candles flickered in little clay bowls. Hands passed bowls along the table, stopping for each person. Just hands and eyes meeting, gentle and steady. I breathed in the warmth. No one stared. No one turned away. There was space beside the linen, so I sat. The wooden bench creaked a little under my weight. The other men and women kept their voices low and their bodies close, leaning in. They talked of ordinary things. The well's bucket, the neighbor's lambs, a broken roof tile. Sometimes someone laughed softly. Someone else just nodded, chewing, eyes half closed in the peace of the meal. A thin loaf was torn past. Steam rose from the lentils. The food tasted simple and good. the kind of food my mother once made years ago before I was set apart. I could still remember the old ache of eating alone at the edge of the wall. But here now, each swallow was easy. Each bite shared between us felt like breathing in and breathing out, slow, unnoticed, needed. I didn't say much. I dipped my bread, soaked up the stew, and listened to the sounds of us together, plates sliding, feet resting, a small song humming at the threshold. The meal stretched on in no direction. We ate because we were hungry. We sat together because we could. No one hurried to clear the dishes. No one rushed to fill the silence. In this circle, I was part of the breathing. My shoulders settled. My hands stilled. There was no story to be told, no miracle to speak of, just the peace of being here, anchored by the nearness of others and by the memory of mercy. The bread in my mouth tasted like belonging. The night pressed close, but there was nothing outside to fear. Just the hush, just the warmth, just the holy, boring miracle of eating with friends, as if we had always dined together in this quiet, sacred way, breathing in, breathing out together at last. Let this moment linger. Let each breath at the table remind you, you're in the circle, not alone. Even this silence is holy. There is a scroll on the table. I haven't opened it, not tonight. Its edges are curled just so. The twine holding it closed feels sturdy, calm. It sits in its usual spot, just inside the quiet, almost as if it watches over the end of the day. Outside, the last color leaves the sky. I fold a rough piece of cloth in half, then again. My hands know what to do. The lamp nearby hums faintly, its light gold and quiet, more a hush than a glow. Some words are safe, even if I never read them aloud. The scroll is heavy with what it holds, but tonight just being here is enough. Some days brim with loud joy. But after this healing, everything is gentle. Relief drifts in the room like dust when you breathe too close to the window. The hush after a storm, the soft weight of a promise, not spoken but still trusted. I don't need to touch the scroll to know it matters. Some things, just by being near, are already doing their work. I hear a neighbor's goat, restless. The wind picks at the door, gentle as a mother tucking in a child. I tie the folded cloth, set it aside. There is nothing left but night and being. It's strange how quiet gratitude can be. My knees are still sore from where I knelt earlier. My thank you was not loud. It simply filled me and has not faded. The scroll keeps watch, unopened. Like mercy or a word I hold inside, pressed against my heart. Even unseen, it is present. Even unread, it is living. He asked for nothing, and still I felt full. The room is ordinary, and everything breathes a little slower. Let this night stretch. Even the silence is holy. The Lord knows my rest, and when I am quiet, I am not forgotten. I sat just where I had before, by the corner of the courtyard wall. The stones were warm from the sun, but cooling quickly. Dusk always gathered here first, in this shaded place, settling into the floor and climbing the walls, turning the color of the world to ash and lavender. All around, the day was releasing its hold. I could almost hear the last sandals scuffing away, but then even those sounds faded. The last neighbor's voice drifted off, unfinished. Just one lantern stayed lit above the door, its glow soft and patient, as if it too was waiting for quiet to finish arriving. The courtyard, empty now except for me, felt bigger than before. More space to breathe. Shadows lengthened, stitched between each potted fig and empty bench. Even my own presence in this place felt small, so small I might have disappeared if I tried hard enough. But I just sat, knees pulled close, hands folded together, listening to the soft hush growing larger than the courtyard itself. A night bird fluttered and stilled. Its wings barely made a whisper, almost a second thought in the gentle dark. My mind stretched with the silence, each breath slow and unhurried. There was nothing to do now but let the quiet have its way with everything. Even the thought of returning, of stepping back toward the man who had healed me, felt gentle here. Not a demand, but a welcome picture I could rest inside. No one called for me. No one hurried past. The courtyard was mine and not mine. It belonged to the silence. Above, the stars gathered in a careful arrangement, just as they did every night, seen by people who never met, whose stories didn't touch except in moments like this. I sat still and felt the cloak of night settle over my shoulders, cool and kind, the way a parent might tuck a child into bed. I thought of the world outside the walls. The paths winding quietly to other homes, the field stones pressed into the old road, the gentle hills turning blue in the last of the light. Some part of me longed for nothing but this, just breathing, just being, just thinking, and sensing my own weight disappear into the steadiness of dusk. Lantern light flickered, softer now, shadows dancing but never quite making any shapes. The silence filled in every space until even memory itself grew quiet. I didn't need to speak any hopes or rehearse any prayers. All those things seemed to fold themselves up inside the cool air, safe and settled for the night. There was a peace here, an ordinary peace, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself. My hands rested in my lap. My feet cooled on the smooth stone. I let gratitude come and go like a breeze, sometimes easy to hold, sometimes gentle and nearly gone, but always present somewhere in the hush. I thought about that short walk back earlier, the moment I turned around, not knowing what I would say, just letting thanks fall out, simple and small, in the direction of someone who saw me. Now the memory joined the silence. Not a story to be repeated, just a quiet shape in the courtyard where the night was bigger than anything I'd ever asked for. I breathed out, and even that felt like prayer enough for the world. The streets emptied out early. Night settled soft and wide, folding its edges over every shape. Nothing called anyone's name. No one hurried. I pressed my hand to the cold wall, just old stone, but tonight it hummed with stillness, as if the air wanted to remember something quiet. Moonlight dripped over the walls, slow as water down a riverbank. It slipped around corners and gathered in low puddles across the stones, pale and hardly moving. I watched the light pool on the steps, silver and unsure, daring to linger. No footsteps disturbed it. It just rested and waited. I did not disturb it either. I walked as one who had been unmade and remade, but tonight there was nothing left to fix. Just the hush, the rock beneath my feet, and this river of moon slanting over everything. The fields past the town were softer now, their dark shapes smoothed out by a thin layer of silver. No sound carried from the houses. If anyone was awake, they were whispering, letting the night keep its gentle secrets. I leaned against a broken wall and let the cool stone steady my breath. The world didn't seem urgent. Nothing pushed forward. I watched the moonlight as it bent, slow and patient, around every chipped brick, filling each crack and hollow. It touched the ledges and corners that daylight never claimed, like a blessing nobody noticed. like a prayer someone whispered once and forgot. All day the stones were warm underfoot, busy with footsteps, but at night they waited and cooled, nursing the kindness of the hour. Even the dust seemed to sleep, softened by the pale wash that ran over the road. I felt no hurry. I watched. The light was enough. Someone far off closed a door, careful not to wake anyone. The sound rolled away, taken by the empty lanes and the quiet sky. I listened for animals, for voices, for my own breath, but everything was slow and kind, as if the night itself had decided to endure to stay. Pulling my shawl closer, I let the stone's calm pass through me. I let the river of light spill soft on my hands. I had asked for nothing, not tonight. Yet I felt full, carried by steadiness, by the simple way moonlight stays, unnoticed, unthanked, but true. The moon did not speak. The walls did not sing back. But I was seen in the slow bend of silver, in the patient hold of old stone. This was enough to rest in. The sacred night, waiting for no one, blessing everything it touched, even me. Even now, let this breath stretch, let the silence linger, let the gentle water of light hold you, all the way to morning. The path was always there. Every morning I knew the shape of it, each stone, each rise, each dusty curve behind a neighbor's crumbling wall. My feet learned its story long before today. When the day was new and the air cool, the world felt wide, but by the time the sun found its edge, every road became softer. Dusk softened everything. Today, the same feet moved slower. My sandals pressed the same cracks as always, but now each step felt remembered. I couldn't see much difference. The path hadn't changed. Just me, quietly moving where I always had. The sameness was gentle at dusk. I think God walks slow, too. There were the clustered olive trees, leaning, as ever, over the wall. Their shadows were long and familiar, pooling the ground in gentle shapes I could trust. I brushed a branch the way I did as a boy, just for the sound, just for the feel of small leaves slipping past fingertips. Nothing important, unless you needed to feel the world was steady. A neighbor's goat, yawning on its rope, dust rising where its hooves danced. Someone shut a window with the same wooden thud as years before. Every bit of it happened every day, and tonight that comfort felt holy. The road's sameness, all its ordinary details, seemed like a quiet prayer passed back and forth between me and God, wordless but heard. I passed the same field of lentils, its soil worn. A single sparrow flickered across the path as if waiting for bread, as if this was not a miracle but just another evening. I did not hurry. I couldn't. The hush after healing is almost heavier than the sickness was. Relief is slow, whole, and soft. No one looked twice at me. 10 men went, one returned. I don't think quiet gratitude is special. I think it's as common as dusk. My hand hovered over my heart where fear used to live. I breathed deeper than I ever did when I was sick. Dusk makes the road feel new, even when your feet know it by heart. Someone hummed a night song from behind their door, low and even. I passed and listened, letting it float over me like the usual breeze. The road curved, as it always did, down past the well. I watched old water slosh in the same tired bucket. I looked, but I didn't have to see. I was home somehow in sameness. I think I was praying, though my lips stayed still by the time I came near the place where we met him. The sky had softened to quiet blue. My legs slowed with the coolness. I wasn't hurrying anymore. There was nothing urgent left. Just this, A world I remembered waiting quietly, a path that was only itself, a man who was and is and would be again tomorrow. Stillness passed into me, slow as breath. He asked for nothing and still felt full. Nothing important happened, but the sameness let me rest. Every step was a prayer, walked out into night. I let dusk hold me and I walked the worn path home. The night is cool, even though summer lingers. I hear voices in the far-off hills, shepherds closing their day, nothing urgent. There is no fear in me, not now. My hands lie easy at my sides. My breath is only breath. I remember the dust beneath my feet, how it rose in soft clouds when I turned back. How quiet it was just turning around. Before the miracle, I counted each breath, heavy, sharp, pulled through teeth. But walking back, just breathing as if I was newborn in a world that finally saw me. In, out, slow. No one hurried me. No one called my name. Jesus stood where I'd left him, sun-dusted still. The others were gone. I wasn't sure my thanks would matter. I came anyway. Some nights, even now, I wake and forget my skin is whole. For just a moment, I brace for the ache, then remember the hush that settled over me like soft linen when I fell to my knees that day. I bowed low, not out of duty but relief. I didn't speak much, just let the world tilt back into place. My skin was warm, my thoughts unhurried. Even after everything, the ground was steady under my forehead. In and out, breath safe inside me. Held, in this dark room I hear only the wind. My bed is plain, my shoulders broad on these woven mats. I settle into each inhale, letting the stillness fill me. Every sound is gentler at night. Feet shuffle in the next house. A child dreams, a mother sighs, an old man stirs for water. I hear these things like distant tides coming and going. Let the moment stretch. There is enough room to be small here, to be nothing special at all and still beloved. The lamp is low. I remember the soft press of my own fingers, testing old scars in the shadows. My hands make no demands. They wash a basin, tie a sandal, fold a blanket at dusk. I'm content with the rhythm. Not every prayer is spoken. Not every hope needs a name. The whole house breathes. The night pulls its own slow patterns. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Sometimes I think of the others. We never gathered again. No one owed me a place. Still I have peace. A quiet yes somewhere behind my ribs. Not because of what changed on my skin, but because I was seen and remembered. Jesus did not move quickly that day. He waited for one man's silence. He let me kneel without words. God walks slowly too often. I sort dates or sweep the stones, chores without voice, each one holy. Before sleep, I touch the doorway, finger resting on smooth wood, letting my breath match the hush of the yard. Tonight the air is thick with summer promise. It feels like God sits with me, closer than I thought possible. If I doze, I trust the stillness will remain. There's comfort in the small acts, folding linen at the foot of my bed, straightening the little mat, offering water to parched lips. This quiet wants nothing but presence. I let the hush hold me like a gentle hand on my shoulder. Each breath received, no striving, no effort. Even this silence is holy. I hear the old olive tree creak in the wind. Somewhere a dog barks, then all is quiet again. I remember the day's last words spoken, or sometimes none were needed. The world is full of words, but not every night requires them. There is something sacred in being allowed to just breath and rest, not owed anything. No one noticed my prayer, but it was heard. Tonight, let stillness do the work. Let boredom be holy. Let the emptiness be filled with breath. The Lord knows my breath. I am not forgotten. God does not look away in the dark. In and out slow. I let my mind wander to small things. A new patch on my tunic, a few yellow figs left in my basket, the feeling of cool clay under my feet. I don't have to hold on to hope tonight. Hope holds me. I do not chase answers. Grace is here already, present in the quiet tumble of sleep. If nothing great happens tonight, I will still be kept. Spirit of stillness, gather me up. Draw my body down into the mat. Remind my heart it is not alone in this room. The silence listens with me. I let this blessing slip quietly into my body, one breath, then another. Sleep comes like rain on dry ground. In the hush I feel known, the peace full but not heavy. I ask for nothing and still feel full. Let this night be enough. There is mercy in simple things. Another breath and then another. Amen, amen, amen. The oil in the little lamp is thin tonight, not much left at the bottom. The flame, quiet, thin as a reed. I watch it hunched over on my mat, not to hurry it, only because it's waiting with me in this soft dark. The walls hold a wash of yellow light, but softer now, gold sliding into gray. My hands fold another cloth, slow and then slower. Corners nearly even. The lamp burns, a curl of shadow swaying each time I breathe out. The room listens. Linen against my palms, sandals lined by the door, crumbs swept to the threshold. Nothing left needing mended tonight. Nothing asked of me except to be here, as the flame shrinks in its shallow pool. Across the room a bowl sits patient. My footsteps are quiet, heel and then toe, heel and then toe. I dip my fingers just to feel the water. Cool, holding the day's dust in its welcome. I wipe each hand, nothing hurried, as if this could be enough. Outside, a hush. Distant hooves, the low sound of voices, the world turning in, everyone drawn home by the same slow tide. I close the window shutter, careful with the latch. Air grows gentle in the lamp's gold hush. The lamp is kind, not quick, not stern. It gives away its fire grain by grain. Its shadow climbs the wall, slow as mercy, slower still as I lower myself down, drawn to the familiar mat on the floor. The last of my tasks, just one. I move the lamp nearer, a little circle of warmth. My knees draw in. There's no need for words, but something settles deep. I watch what's left of the oil, the way it clings and lets go, until nothing burns but a memory of light. I let my eyes close. Air settles. Cloth cools beneath my jaw. I breathe the soft smoke curling from the wick, a ribbon vanishing. No one sees me say thank you for this day, but I do quietly. He asked for nothing and still felt full. The night carries it anyway. Shadows stretch. Sleep comes as gentle as the oil giving way to night. Something sacred lingers, still flickering, even once the light is gone. The sky is soft and dark. The world has gone quiet. I lie down on my mat, folding the blanket at my feet, feeling the edge of everything settle. No one else is awake. The quiet settles in my bones. I listen to the air move in and out, slow and steady. My hands rest on my chest. The dust from the day is still on my ankles, but I feel clean. Clean in a way I did not believe I could be. All around, the hush of night wraps the house. A dog shifts in the alleyway. Far off, someone closes a window. Stillness grows thick like soft wool. I let my eyes fall closed. I say thank you, but only in my heart because my lips are tired. Thank you for letting me walk home. Thank you for the quiet around me. Thank you for not rushing. Thank you for the day, for my body, for this breath. Thank you. That is the prayer. It rises and falls slow as a tide. I do not rush it. Each thanks drifts into the silence. I let the words stretch out as if there is nowhere else for them to go. I am not asking for anything. I am simply full. I sink a little deeper. The cool clay wall by my side, my neck on folded cloth, my body unwinding with each second. No noise but my breath. Nothing to do but close my eyes and feel it. The weight of being seen. The simple surprise of still being here. I remember falling on my knees earlier. The stones were hard, but I barely noticed. Only the feeling of being looked at. No one called my name, but I was known. Not just by the healer, but by the quiet way the world shifted around that moment. No one seemed to see, and yet I felt remembered. I carry that into the dark now. A soft wind touches the corner of the house. It moves the straw at my feet. I let it remind me all is well. The night is on my side. The day is finished and nothing is missing. Here in the small hush, I whisper the same thanks, but slower now. Each word makes its own space in the darkness. I do not worry if anyone hears. I think I just need myself to hear. I let the silence answer me. You are safe. You are home. You have been made whole. Nothing happens in the dark. I listen to my breath. I count the spaces between heartbeats. Now a pause. I let the last of my thoughts settle. The world outside is quiet. My hands feel warm. I let the quiet come all the way in. I begin to say the words I want to remember, even if I sleep through them. I breathe out and listen to each one land, as if placing stones beside a sleepy river. You are safe tonight. You are not forgotten. This rest is answered prayer. Even when you feel small, you are seen. You are gently held. Mercy follows you. Even when you walk slowly, the Lord remembers your name. You can let go just for now. Nothing is missing. God loves you. Even in the quietest, darkest, peace is here. Amen. 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 Sleep, quiet and whole.